Hello there, it's Monday, November 12th, 2012, and let's talk about what happened this weekend at xdadevelopers.com. First up, yes, I realize I'm not in my normal environment. I'm actually sitting in a hotel in Kansas because tomorrow morning I start a brand new job and I had to fly out here to be orientated. But moving on to the news, and there's not a whole lot of it from this weekend. First up, somewhat recently, the HTC One X Plus has received an official root. But not only that, thanks to XDA recognized contributor Football, we now have our first official custom ROM for the HTC One X Plus. Not a whole lot to it that makes it custom other than bloatware removal and adding the aroma installer, which honestly I'm not really familiar with at this point, but it is a step in a good direction. Custom ROMs, no bloatware, good stuff. Up next, a device that I've done a lot of talking about and reading about over the last few weeks. The Motorola Razr I has received a beta version of Clockwork mod recovery for it. Now this is actually significant because up to this point, Clockwork mod has been heavily dependent on running on the ARM architecture, and the Razr I, if you're not familiar with it, is running on Intel. It's an Intel sort of an Atom processor, so this is actually kind of a big deal. Essentially, they're going through and removing all of that specific ARM stuff and making it platform independent, so it should work on whatever kind of device you've got. That is thanks to XDA senior member Turl1, and it looks like he's been working with Matt Elgroff, who's been pretty much the forefront of anything Razr I related to this point. And it looks like it's not 100%. Like I said, it is still a beta. The buttons may not be perfect at this point, but they're definitely making good progress. So if you have that Razr I, and I think it's actually kind of few and far between at this point, it is primarily other markets, not US markets, so I have really no way of getting my hands on one. But still, either way, you should be able to get Clockwork mod on it and get started on some custom recovery, some custom ROM development and things like that. Now, not too long ago, Amazon announced and released the Kindle Fire, the new whole Kindle Fire family, really. However, the Kindle Fire HD was one of the ones they touted as being unhackable and unlockable and all of that fun sort of stuff. However, being XDA, what do? Hack it first day. But getting root on it is not the only step of the process. It does not get you from point A to point B. You've got a bunch of other steps in between. Well, thanks to XDA recognized developer Hashcode, we are now one step closer. He's released a safe strap for the Kindle Fire HD, and essentially what that does, it's kind of like the old bootstrapping you do on like the Motorola Droid X, where you put the recovery and you put everything else you're going to put on the device into a separate location, leaving all of the system files intact and not really changing any of that. Now, it should be considered a serious hack. There is a potential you will soft break your device, so do make sure that you read through the forum threads, make sure you get all the information you can before trying this yourself. But if you have the Kindle Fire HD, this might be a good place to jump off and get some development work going. And the last story, which actually I thought was kind of an old story because I've talked about it over on my channel, twill.tv, Ubuntu has released an official Nexus 7 Ubuntu installer. And essentially with that, you can take your Ubuntu system, you can run this application on top of it, connect your device up, hit a couple of buttons, and boom, it's going to flash Ubuntu onto your Nexus device. Keep in mind you have to have it unlocked. It walks you through the steps to unlock it if you go to their site. I still haven't had the opportunity to try it yet. I am very much enjoying Jelly Bean on my Nexus 7. But I know Adam took a look at it. He mentioned that it wasn't quite ready for prime time yet, but it's getting there. Unity is still a little awkward on such a small screen, so I can imagine unless you go through and actually customize Unity and make the buttons a little larger, and then you're going to lose a lot of screen real estate, you're going to have some issues with it. But one way or another, it is definitely an excellent step and a step in the right direction in my opinion. One of the things I've really been looking forward to is the Ubuntu on Android project, where it would sort of seamlessly integrate Ubuntu with Android so you could plug it in and have a full desktop experience, remove it and have the Android experience go back and forth pretty seamlessly, get all of your Android apps on your Ubuntu desktop as a device. So maybe for the 1304 cycle, which I think this is actually based off 1304, it should be very interesting to see how much work they get done on it and how they get it running on there. Because, like I said, just having that sort of interconnectivity for your device, this is not it, but it is definitely a step in that direction. Anyway, that's about all for me for today. I'm going to go out and get some dinner and try to have an early night because I have an early morning tomorrow. As always, though, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on Friday.